All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. If there's any latecomers, we'll just have them wander in. I would ask the folks at home that are participating via Zoom to please mute yourselves so that there's no background noise. Unless you have a question, and we'll take those at the end, try to hold them to the end. Just so you know, I'm presenting both in person and on Zoom. So I will try my best to stay behind this podium so you can see and hear me, but I'm a person that talks with my hands and I walk around. So if I wander off, I promise I'll be back. And for those of you in the audience, know that I'm stuck behind the podium because I'm trying to make sure I project to everybody on Zoom too. So I'm going to start just by introducing myself, and I want to kind of get a feel for the audience also. I'm Brenda. I'm the care manager here at One Senior Place. Who has been to One Senior Place before? Okay. How many people are here because they are helping take care of elderly parents? How many people are here because they are elderly parents and they want their children to know what they need to know? Okay. So, you know, this is the first time I have done this particular presentation for One Senior Place. I did it a week or so ago from one of our other resident businesses, but just let me kind of tell you why I'm doing this presentation. So I have been here at One Senior Place off and on for, you know, about 9 years. Over the course of the 9 years, I'm going to say I've probably done in the neighborhood of 8,000 or so consultations. And those are 1-hour blocks that someone comes to me and I do the best I can to help them solve the problem they're facing. What I learned from those consultations is that most of the adult children are thrown into a situation with their parents and they have no idea what most of the lingo that seniors understand. They don't know what it means. They don't know anything about anything related to their parents. And I mean, I've done consultations where we've had senior parents that were facing a crisis and the adult children were in different states. So I'm talking to a son in Texas and a son in New York, and I start using terminology and they don't even know what I'm talking about. So it occurred to me that arming adult children with at least some knowledge about the lingo of growing old, the lingo of retirement, and kind of give them a heads up with here's what you need to know might help when they're presented with that crisis that their parents may find themselves in. So that's kind of why we decided to do this. And I called it Get in Your Parents' Business, because what I learned from these adult children is that there's a lot of pushback from their elderly parents. They don't want them to know about their finances. They don't want them to know about their health. They don't want them to know any of that. But if you're going to be an effective advocate and caregiver for your parents, these are the things that you're going to need to know. All right, so having said that, let's see if I can manage the technology. Okay, so first thing, my parents aren't rich. Why do they need an estate plan? I hear this all the time, okay? And really the confusion with this concept comes from the idea that it's an estate. People see an estate. Well, my parents don't have an estate. They're not wealthy. An estate plan does not refer to the size of the house you live in. It actually refers to the documents that are needed when you are going to assist anybody, whether we're talking about your parents, your spouse, or even your child, with managing their legal and financial affairs. And generally, we're talking about a durable power of attorney that can include what's called a pre-need guardianship, a healthcare surrogate, and a living will. So let's talk about what those documents actually mean. A durable power of attorney is a legal document that gives you the right to make decisions for another person. What those decisions are depends on what you write inside your durable power of attorney. There's a lot of flexibility in what you can write into your durable power of attorney, but it gives another person, whether it's your spouse, your child, or You know, even if it's for your parent, it gives you the right to make the decisions on their behalf when they are incapacitated and can no longer make those decisions. A pre-need guardian is exactly what it sounds like. In Florida, some attorneys include a pre-need guardianship in estate planning, and that means should I be so incapacitated that my durable power of attorney isn't enough, I'm going to appoint this person as my guardian. Now, guardianship is a whole nother topic that attorneys certainly do education on, and we're not going to talk about that today because it's extremely complicated and we try to avoid it if we can, but it is something that can be included in your estate plan. The other thing is a healthcare surrogate. Now, a healthcare surrogate can be referenced in your durable power of attorney. You may have a statement in there that says that you want such and such to be your healthcare surrogate, but it's also a standalone document. And one of the things I have given you in your binder, and just for those of you on Zoom, the in-person attendees have an actual binder. You guys have access to a document that is part of the binder, but the in-person attendees do have a binder. There is something in the binder which we do have here at One Senior Place, and you are able to get a copy of if you people on, watching on Zoom want one. It's called 5 Wishes. So the 5 wishes that you have in front of you is a standalone healthcare surrogate and living will. So what that means is that on it in itself can be your healthcare surrogate, and it certainly has lots of opportunities for you to lay out your wishes in the event that you become terminally ill. In Florida, that document does not have to be notarized, it just has to be witnessed. But it is certainly a very good living will, which is another thing that's you'll see the last thing listed here on the estate plan. Now, what you don't see listed here is a will. So I'm sure you guys know that a will is the document that talks about your belongings. That certainly can be part of your estate plan, and most people do include it. But there's also other things, including a trust. There are various other ways to manage your physical belongings in the state of Florida. And those things can also be part of your estate plan, but that's more complicated than what we want to talk about today. You do have a flyer available to you. One of our attorneys is going to do a seminar in September related to these documents. It's about the 5 important documents that you need, and she's actually doing a seminar on all of these things we just talked about. So what we want for you guys as adult children is this. The legal papers are only useful to you if you can locate them. If your mom says, yes, I have a will, yes, I have a durable power of attorney, and I have no idea what it is, that's not very helpful to you. Because once you get the power of attorney, if you file it away in a file cabinet and you never use it, it's not what they call executed, meaning no one is aware of it, so no one is going to honor it. Part of the reason why we created this binder is that if you can get a copy of that durable power of attorney or healthcare surrogate or all of the documents they have, this binder is a great place for you to have those so that you can locate them. Now, again, we don't want you to take this binder and shove it away in the top of the closet and forget about where it is. So all of the papers, all the documents are only as good as if you can locate them. So the goal is for you guys to fill the binder and also know where the binder is, okay? And certainly provide copies. A lot of the estate planning attorneys now are even giving you a little flash drive that you can use the flash drive to make multiple copies of your legal documents. So it's not quite as hard as it used to be. One of the other things that you'll see that's in your binder is a place for usernames and passwords to be listed. Now, a lot of people aren't comfortable with writing down things like usernames and passwords. If you aren't doing that, that's fine. But, there has to be some kind of clue to let anybody know that is, let's say, your durable power of attorney for finances. They have access to your bank account, but oh, by the way, they can't access it online because they don't know your username and password. So we have provided an opportunity for, you know, those usernames and passwords and account numbers and things like that to be shared and stored in a safe place, but accessible. Okay. And definitely, if you decide to do any of these documents, please share them with the people named in the documents. If, you know, we'd like for you to share your healthcare surrogate paperwork with your healthcare surrogate. Same thing with the power of attorney. It'd be a good idea to share it with the person actually named in the power of attorney. All right, so the binder that you have in front of you, we're giving you the opportunity to have the personal planning guide. In the personal planning guide, you can pretty much tailor it to whatever you need. It has a template for just about everything important you can possibly think of, but you know, there's opportunities for you guys to include things that you might think are important. So the 5 wishes, which is the standalone Living Well Healthcare Surrogate document in there. We have a few pieces of paper in there that are just things that we want you to think about when you're creating your binder and trying to get in your parents' business. And then a few tips with other important documents, like when someone passes away, there's some tips on how to handle, you know, what's going to happen when we're facing time of death. Okay, so all the medical stuff. Again, I hear this during a lot of consultations. I don't know anything about my parents' medical care. People very frequently get Medicare and Medicaid confused. So I want to clarify with Medicare and Medicaid, it is possible for your parents to have both. They don't have to be mutually exclusive, but generally speaking, Medicare is available for people that are 65 and older, or younger if they have a qualifying disability and have been disabled for a long enough time period. Medicaid also can be a health insurance, as well as a couple other things in the state of Florida, but it has financial qualifications to qualify for Medicaid. So you will hear the term dual eligible, meaning someone has Medicare and Medicaid. And oh, by the way, to make it just a little bit more complicated, people can be dual eligible and have an advantage plan. So that, you know, that makes it really hard. But why is this important to you? Because let's say your mom or dad or spouse has to go to a skilled nursing facility, and you get a call from the caseworker, and they, you know, they want to know your mom's Medicare number. And do they have a secondary payer source like a supplement or Medicaid? Sometimes it can be challenging if you're not familiar with it. So a Medicare card is now, it's a red, white, and blue card. It says Part A and Part B, and it used to have a Social Security number on it. Medicare did away with that a couple years ago. So now it's got a random number and numbers and letters jumbled together, but it's unique to them. As opposed to Medicaid, which if your parents have it, they may have a gold card, or they may have an advantage plan that lists some other letters down in the bottom, special needs plan or various other things. But it is possible for them to have both. Okay, so the other thing I hear frequently from the adult children is, I don't know anything about, you know, my parents' doctors. Why do I even want to know? Well, a lot of times when there's a situation like a parent in the hospital and they need to go into a skilled nursing facility, it's important for the family members to be able to talk to the doctors and the skilled nursing facility on their parents' behalf. There's a couple reasons why you wouldn't be able to do that. One is somebody's going to ask you, do you have a durable power of attorney or a healthcare surrogate? And if the answer is no, those healthcare people don't have to share information with you. Now, I'm not saying that they won't. A lot of places will, but the last place that you want to be hit with, do you have a durable power of attorney, is when we get to the living will and the do not resuscitate order. which are other important documents. But there are a couple forms with a durable power of attorney. Some attorneys include a HIPAA form, which allows a certain family member to be able to talk to the doctors on, that person's behalf. The doctor's offices also have their own forms, so just make sure that you're filling out all the forms necessary to be able to assist your parents with, their medical needs. Important to know their doctors as well as their medications. Okay, so having a list of, does mom see a cardiologist, a neurologist, a podiatrist, maybe not so important, but hey, endocrinologist, whatever it might be, as well as a list of medications. Those are the kind of things that you're going to want to kind of stay on top of, as well as, believe it or not, the billing. If there's any kind of issues with billing and Medicare, you're going to want to be able to access their information. A living will and a DNR. So a living will, like the 5 wishes, is a document where you are able to express your end of life preferences. This can be something as simple as attorneys use a 1-page document where you check a couple boxes off, or something like the 5 wishes, which is very, very in-depth. That is much different from a DNR. A DNR is a do not resuscitate order. In Florida, that is on yellow paper. If you have one visible in your home and EMS walks in and you are not breathing and you do not have a heartbeat, they will do nothing and they will walk back out the door. This means do not resuscitate me if I am not breathing and do not have a heartbeat. It does not mean do not do the Heimlich maneuver if I'm choking, or if I have a cut and I'm gushing blood, don't render first aid. It is very specific to if I don't have a heartbeat and I'm not breathing. But a DNR on file in your chart in the hospital means if you code, nobody's bringing you back to life. Or if you are in a nursing home or an assisted living, nobody is going to bring you back to life. If you have a DNR and you're a senior, please let your family members know that you have this document, because, and I shared this story at the last time I did this presentation, but my mother went into the hospital with pneumonia. She had COPD. She recovered. She was leaving the hospital. She had a heart attack. She had a DNR. I did not know that. My mother that I expected to come home from the hospital died because she had a DNR that I was not even aware of. So that's not when you want your family members to find out that you have a DNR, because to this day, I would say if she had not had that DNR, someone would have done CPR and she might still be living, but I don't know, so it's one of those things that if you have it, share it with your family members. Okay, the ugly stuff, the checkbook. So obviously, parents are most resistant to sharing medical information. If you think that's bad, they're less resistant to sharing their financial information. But why is this important? Okay, again, the last scenario you want to run into is when someone is telling you, mom and dad, they cannot live at home anymore. They've been in the hospital, they've gone to rehab, they can't live at home because they need too much care. And you learn that they're surviving on $1,000 a month and they have no money in the bank. Okay, so you need to gain an awareness of their financial situation. And yes, this is a very challenging conversation to have, maybe one of the most challenging, other than you're not driving anymore. That's a pretty difficult conversation also. But knowing their financial situation and going into it with a kind of, I need to know how you're paying your bills, approaching it from that angle and opening the door and then taking it a little at a time is really the best approach. The main reason is because if we're faced with a situation where they need to move to some sort of senior living, whether it's an assisted living or a nursing home, you've got to know, can they afford it? If not, You know, we need to start looking at Medicaid, and are they going to meet the financial criteria for Medicaid? So super important that you're aware of their finances. How many people have any idea what the average cost of an assisted living is right now? What do you think? Throw out a ballpark figure. Yes, ma'am.
2,500 to 5,000 a month.
Yeah, that's pretty close. She said 2,500 to 5,000 a month. So when we're talking about senior living, you know, there's a couple things that factor in. One is obviously room and board. We need a roof over our head and meals. But the other thing that people don't realize is that the assisted livings also charge for what's called your level of care. So when you walk into an assisted living and they tell you your rent is going to be $3,000 a month, and oh, by the way, we're going to do an assessment. If mom's a level 3, that's an additional $1,000 a month. So these are the kind of things that you don't know. Not every assisted living charges a level of care. Some of them lump it all together in one price, but we're still looking at thousands of dollars per month that a lot of seniors are not prepared for. Do mom and dad have a mortgage, or is their house paid for? Do they have a reverse mortgage? If so, how much do they owe? You know, IRAs, well, not 401ks because they're not working, but their sources of income, super important, as well as what are they still paying for. Finding out that, you know, they have $50,000 in credit card debt is shocking to some adult children, but it happens. So getting your head wrapped around where they are financially is a good idea as soon as you can. Staying home, most seniors I meet say, I want to stay in my home as long as possible. Nobody is saying, I can't wait to move to a nursing home. Staying home is the most expensive thing you can do. Maybe not in the beginning, because we come home, we've got a few hours of private duty care, and it might be a couple $100s a week. Fast forward a few years, and we need 24-hour care, and mom and dad really want it to be done in the home. I have a client right now that is spending $5,000 a week on private duty care, okay? $5,000 a week. So she has 168 hours a week of private duty care times, I think she's paying around $25 an hour. So it gets super expensive to stay home. And if mom and dad say, I want to stay home, and they've got $20,000 in the bank, you guys are going to have to get creative versus, you know, if you find out they've got some assets and this is doable for you. All right, so in summary, your binder, the goal of what I have, you know, taught you guys, hopefully, as well as the binder. The goal of this is for, and this is just kind of an overview, but the goal of this is for you guys to be aware of your parents' legal documents, your parents' healthcare wishes, as well as their doctors, as well as what are they using for health insurance, and getting a grip on their finances. And hopefully they will be willing to share all of these documents with you, and you guys will have a nice little binder to build for, you know, the future. And please, please make sure that you keep your binder centrally located and make sure that it's accessible to the people that you have named in your documents. All right, so I know I'm seeing questions. All right, hang on one second. Let me see if I can do this. Miss Marcy has a question.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You mentioned about the living will,
Okay.
and about the HIPAA, the doctor's forms.
Yes.
One particular problem that I've run into a lot is that I help my parents pay their credit card bills. Sometimes there's a problem on the credit card bill, and when I call the company, they won't talk to me.
Right.
And a lot of times I'm in my own home straightening out the bills. I have to wait, travel to my parents' house, put them on the phone, wait an hour for them to get on the phone, and then approve them to talk to me. What is the name of the form that would cover that type of situation where I want medical release, or like credit card companies to talk to me? Where would that fit into here?
So your durable power of attorney has to include language for finance that also addresses the type of financial institutions that you want to be able to communicate with. So for example, a good solid power of attorney with that addressed will literally say, and my power of attorney has the authority to, and it lists credit cards, mortgage companies, anything in the financial world that they might want you to interact with. Now, you can get just a financial power of attorney if you don't want to be a healthcare surrogate or any of those other things. Getting a financial power of attorney on its own is still something you can do if you're not interested in having all of these other powers. Now, Marcy, having said that, the one disclaimer about powers of attorney is they are only as good as the entity you are trying to get to accept it. So you can have an ironclad $1,000 power of attorney drawn up by an attorney, and if Chase Bank doesn't like it, they're not going to like it. And there's almost nothing you can do to make them accept it. But once you get the power of attorney, you have to do what's called executing it, meaning you have to share it with that financial institution. They share it with their legal department, and then the legal department says, yes, we will name you as the power of attorney, and now you can speak on their behalf. Social Security does not, and Medicare for that matter, do not recognize power of attorney. In addition to a power of attorney to speak to your, someone on, to Social Security on someone's behalf, you have to go through what's called representative payee, which is another level of protection. The VA also will not honor just a power of attorney. They will allow you to do some things with it, but ultimately when you're dealing with the VA and you're in charge of somebody's money, you have to become what's called their fiduciary. So some of the other entities will add other levels of challenges to make it hard for you to use your power of attorney. A word about pulling them off of the internet. A lot of people do that. For some situations, it might be usable, but I've seen 40-page powers of attorney before because the situation was complicated enough that they wanted to cover everything imaginable. It's not our wish that you go to LegalZoom and create your power of attorney. It's certainly doable, but it is not what we recommend that you do. We really like for you to sit with an attorney and make sure that you can accomplish your goals with the proper legal document.
What happens if I'm sorry, just a follow-up question to what you just explained. So let's just say theoretically, if the credit card company says, we will not accept this, what happens? Do they offer you a form that they will accept for you to fill out?
Possibly, yes. I have actually had credit card companies send separate forms that authorize, they have their own internal form. That is possible. There are some companies that just say, we're not working with you on this. So, and then you're stuck with being there with your parents every time it happens.
Thank you.
Did that answer your whole question, Marcy?
Yes, thank you. It was very helpful.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And for the doctor, the medical release form, do I just have to go? A lot of these, the DPA, healthcare surrogate, living will, I'm assuming that those things are for when they're incapacitated or can't make a decision. But what if, like right now, my parents are active, they're able to talk and speak, but I accompany them a lot to their medical appointments. Sometimes I need to call the doctor for a follow-up conversation. What form would I need in that case?
Usually the doctor's office will have their own forms in addition to the durable power of attorney and healthcare surrogate forms. Okay. So just make sure that you filled out whatever documents they deem necessary so that you can speak with them on your parents' behalf.
Okay, thank you.
Barbara, did you?
Yeah, well, most credit card companies, cable companies, if your parents give them permission to add you to their list of, then you can call without them being with you.
Right, that is true. That's a good point. Did you hear that, Marcy? Could you hear Barbara?
Yeah, I can ask the
Okay.
company to add me to a
Right.
list. What list
Yeah.
would that be? What?
Yeah,
okay.
but have your parents say, I'd like my daughter's name added
Right, they
to
would
the
add
list."
me. They would call
Right.
and say,
Yes.
I authorized.
Right, I authorize them, yeah.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I go ahead and contact the VA and Social Security, and ask them about forms ahead of time?
Marion, who's present here at the in-person, has asked if she can contact the VA and Social Security and ask about forms ahead of time. Yes, you could go ahead and establish with Social Security someone to be your representative payee if you wanted to do that. The VA, that one I'm not so sure about because all the VA scenarios and the benefits are pretty much benefit specific. So I can't think of, Barbara, can you think of an instance where you would reach out to the VA ahead of time to let them know you wanted to give someone the ability to talk on their behalf?
No, not really. You can try. It doesn't hurt
Yeah.
to try.
True.
Yeah.
I didn't do that.
She said we between the two of us, Barbara, the lady on the bottom, is the care manager at the other one senior place. We can't think of an incidents where that would be applicable to the VA, but you can try. I mean, all they can ever say is no, but Social Security has representative payee paperwork that you can
Well,
fill
I'm
out.
getting benefits to take for the VA.
Okay,
I was unconscious. I would want my medical and want to continue.
okay.
That's what I'm referring to.
Okay, so with the VA, with that specific thing, you can establish a fiduciary, which is a person that you can set up with the VA. Yes, you could do that. Yes, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
My challenge is that, I value the skill, the talent, and the knowledge of professionals like attorneys. I'm willing to pay their fees.
Mhm.
My grandfather is not, and he does not trust any of them because they're just out to make money.
Right.
And I can't get him in front of an attorney to do any of this. So
Yeah.
you guys offer like how to?
So, yeah, I mean, it's challenging because ultimately that person has to sign this legal document. I mean, your grandfather is going to have to sign the form to get, name you his power of attorney or his healthcare surrogate. I mean, sometimes in those situations, it's the crisis that pushes the person over the edge when they wouldn't do it before, when they have a professional like a doctor or somebody in telling them you have to do this, or the other alternative is the court appoints a stranger to make decisions on your behalf because it's a guardianship issue. Usually what we have is we have you bring this person to seminars, because in the seminar, the attorney comes across as a person first. And they can form kind of a relationship with them, and all of our attorneys do seminars. So if you come to one and you feel like that's not a good fit, you can come to another. And that's usually a better way than just trying to get them to go to the office and say, Grandpa, let's show up at their office. Hey, why don't we go to one senior place? And the attorney's talking about how to avoid probate, because we do have one of our attorneys that does that seminar. Let's see what she has to say, and then you can kind of do it that way. But it's hard, it becomes a battle of wills, and ultimately they have to sign the legal document, or down the road you're facing guardianship because they never did, and now they don't have capacity to sign it. So
I mean, we can force the guardianship issue now. I don't want to do that.
yeah,
I don't want my last year's relationship. to
Right.
be
right,
totally
exactly.
wrecked.
Right. And we try to strongly encourage a durable power of attorney and to discourage guardianships, because it is hard on everybody. It's hard on the guardian. It's hard on the family member. It's great for the attorney because they make lots of money from it. But other than that, it's pretty much hard on everybody. So do you have any ideas, Barbara, for getting the warm fuzzies about a power of attorney?
No, I mean, there's a certain age group of seniors that don't
Right.
want anything to do with it.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. You know, you can try to find an attorney that maybe will come to the home.
Yeah. And Family First Firm here for our location will still actually go to, they're one of the few attorneys that will go to the home. Are they offering that service in your location that they'll go to someone's home?
They haven't told me, but you know, we have Rhodes Law down by us that will go to the home.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe if someone goes to the home and talks to them, you know, it's one-to-one instead of
Yeah.
in a office with a lot of fancy furniture and books.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll feel more comfortable doing that.
Right.
You know, the other thing is, you know, ask them to do it for you, not for themselves. That if they do it for you, because you don't really know what to do for them. So they need to have that conversation and talk to you about what their wishes are. And, you know, sometimes even if you just write all that down and get it notarized and stuff, those are legal documents. So you can try that also. It's not like having the attorney do it, but it's still, once it's notarized, it's a legal document.
Right. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, so clearly these topics are things that can be discussed in depth. I do a class on the 5 wishes. So if you want to come to that and, you know, walk through how to fill out the 5 wishes, all of the attorneys do the estate planning. We have a care management agency here, North Star Cares, that offers care management to seniors that don't have family or have family in another state. So there's not, you know, someone readily accessible. That is a service that can be accessed for seniors in that situation. So just know that pretty much everything that you may deal with, we have a resource for it. And don't hesitate ever to reach out to One Senior Place, because we'll do our best to point you in the right direction with the right resources. All right, well, thank you guys so much. I appreciate your attendance. Anybody on Zoom, you guys are good?
Thank you. I think this is really helpful. I know, I just want to say thank you very much, because I know that when I first started, I didn't know any of this. And
Right.
it would have been helpful for somebody to explain it to me instead of me having to just kind of drag myself all over trying to figure things out.
Right,
But
exactly. That's the goal. That's what we're hoping to accomplish. So thanks for that feedback. I appreciate it.
thank you. Thanks.